Hello, Void Dwellers. If you watched my channel before, you may have seen 1 or 2 or 3 videos in which I criticized Jon Stewart. But my criticism of him was mostly in the context of his bias and at times plain mean stance against Israel. So I feel like the point of the criticism was kinda lost in the usual background noise of that topic. The result was always leftists buying at me from the comments because how dare I criticize one of their kings, and on a subject where the manifesto is very clear about what our opinion should be. And right-wingers who thought I was one of them subscribed, and then finding out that I'm a woke liberal in other videos were like, fuck you, commie, and unsubscribed. Which is a point about tribalism you might have heard me making 1 or 2 or, all of my fucking videos. But now, Jon has gifted us with the gift of attacking an issue the left is right to be outraged about, and by doing so, he actually demonstrated perfectly my point. And this time, perhaps, I will able to reach some of my leftist comrades who may have been confused by his diversion from the manifesto. Now, you shouldn't disagree with him just because he is diverting from the manifesto. You should disagree with him because his points are fucking stupid and ignorant, and even more so, he actually flaunts his ignorance and pretends it's some kind of a virtue. Let's have a look then. The segment is about the media's reaction to Trump, and it starts with the news about Trump firing 17 inspectors general.
What's the news freaking out about closer to home?
Friday night massacre.
Late Friday night purge.
A chilling purge.
The purge.
Ah! What is this purge about exactly?
Trump fired at least 17 inspectors general.
No! That only leaves no one knows how many left. I have no idea. We have 17 less inspectors general. Who knows how many generals will now go uninspected?
Okay, so the joke is, I don't know what the Inspector General's role is in a democracy, so that must mean it doesn't matter. Hilarious! Do you see how fucking self-involved that is? Jon represents here exactly the attitude that has infested the modern left, Gen Z most of all. This anything that is outside of my view must be meaningless attitude that encourages people to think that they are the center of the universe. Let me try to help you, Jon. The inspectors general are a crucial part of trying to prevent corruption and wastefulness in a democratic system. They conduct audits, they investigate fraud and abuse and make recommendations, they protect whistleblowers. In short, they are guard dogs, and they exist in most democratic countries. Even if the title and their functionality vary a bit from country to country, but the principle remains the same. It's the National Audit Office in the UK, or the Auditor General in Canada, or Federal Court of Auditors in Germany, and yes, the State Comptroller of Israel, which I had to look up how to say it in English, and I had no idea the word comptroller even existed. Now, in the US, they are appointed by either the president or by different agencies, and the Senate is supposed to approve them, thus making sure the appointments are free of corruption and the work won't be influenced. It's part of the design of the American system that is meant to maximize the separation of branches of government while keeping everything working together. So you see, Jon, the fact that you didn't know about them, and this guy who is not even an American did, is not on its own a good argument that they are not important. You are not the center of the universe. And as you demonstrate again and again, there's quite a lot that you don't know.
What Trump did violated the law. He can't just fire these people.
Title V, Section 403 of the U.S. Code, federal law, an inspector general may be removed by the president.
What?
There is a specific law that requires notice, 30 days, and a statement of reasons, substantive and detailed rationale.
What? I'm sorry, what? Oh, apparently you can fire them, but you have to give them 30 days notice. Oh, so that's what we're upset about?
Oh my God, how can you be this thick? No, genius. The point is not the 30 days. The point is the list of rationales. It is rooted in the Inspector General Act of 1978 in American law, and the idea is to protect them from, wait for it, political persecution, so that there's transparency and Congress can oversee the process and interfere if need be. Trump not doing that is not just a violation of American law, it's a violation of a law specifically designed to protect democracy and prevent political persecution. What the fuck? How many times were you dropped on your head as a child?
No! You can do it, but not in that font!
This is such an accurate demonstration of the entire Stewart mindset and scope. And that is what he pushes to his followers. I'm ignorant of something, so I'm making fun of it, misrepresenting it, and I get to portray myself as clever to the people who are just as ignorant as I am.
But this is the cycle we find ourselves in. First law of Trumpodynamics. Every action is met with a very not equal overreaction. Like last week's pardons.
These pardons are sick. They are offensive.
This is textbook authoritarian takeover 101.
I knew I should have taken that class. And not majored in submissive liberal crying 101.
So, people being outraged by a president who pardoned violent criminals who try to subvert democracy, inspired by his own campaign of lies and incitements, that's submissive liberal crying 101. Agree with me or be mocked! The choice is yours. I mean, it's hard to believe the guy is in his 60s because his reasoning is that of a 12 years old.
That is his constitutional power. Again, for some reason, we have given presidents the power of a king. And then we say, oh, by the way, like, with that power, you're not going to get all like kingly and shit on us, right?
What? You do know that the very point of the Constitution is to remove the power of a king, right? Yes, pardons are within the president's power, sure. That doesn't mean it is beyond criticism. In what kind of a democracy do you live?
To put that in constitutional terms, if I could, don't hate the player, hate the founding fathers. That's not...
I feel like I'm being talked to by a 12-year-old who just discovered the Descendants for the first time. Yeah, Dad, fuck the founding fathers, I'm a rebel. And then John takes us to the only issue that he thinks is major.
President Trump deploying executive action to end birthright citizenship.
Birthright citizenship was very specifically tailored to send a message to people that America was a place, an idea. It wasn't for one race. It wasn't for one gender. Finally, I agree. That is authoritarian.
We do begin tonight with the federal judge blocking President Trump's executive order that would end birthright citizenship.
And we're back. See how easy that was? It was a dictatorship, and then the judge went,
Yes, John, exactly. The American system makes sure that power is divided between different branches of government, and those branches have different checks and balances on them, such as the inspectors general that you were so proud of not knowing about. And above all, there's the Constitution, which can only be altered by a 2/3 majority of Congress, and no branch of government is allowed to do anything in contradiction to that Constitution, thus leaving the power of government in the hands of the people. Hate the founding fathers? How about you shut the fuck up and take notes, because if anything, what we're seeing here, and we also saw that in Trump's first term, is the brilliance of their system. A system specifically designed to allow an elected president enough power to make decisions, but not too much power that he or she can subvert democracy itself. My God, I cannot believe this Israeli guy needs to educate you about how the fuck the American system works and why it's so brilliant in spite of the many flaws it has. One of those flaws, obviously, being your educational system, which has failed so many of you.
We are facing a deluge of these executive actions, and certainly we must be prepared for those most vulnerable to the consequences of these actions. But the "this is all fascist" argument has become almost a reflex for the left.
Oh, so you can't do that using that font? I mean, really? That's your problem? They are not using kind words? The person who said he'll be a dictator for one day is trying to do exactly that, and us horrible leftists are calling him a bad name? That's the issue? Can you see how inconsistent you are even with your own criticism? When we complain that Trump is trying to remove an actual piece of the checks and balances of democracy while actually breaking the law as he does so, you say it's using the wrong font. And then immediately you complain that we're not using nicer words. And this is the essence of the criticism I had of you in every single video I've ever made about you. Whether you discuss Israel or AI or anything else, your point of view is always ignorant. Actually celebrating ignorance and replacing good arguments with stupid jokes and ridicule. And yeah, I get it, it's a satire show. Trust me, we have those too back home in the land of the savage sand people you are so embarrassed to be a part of. But our satire actually attacks real issues and deeds of people, misrepresenting a topic and then mocking the people who actually understand the topic and therefore have a bit of a reaction to what Trump is doing. That's not satire. That is stupidity. Yeah, you didn't take submissive liberal crying 101. You took morons are a good way to make money 101, didn't you, John? And fuck your country, fuck the world, fuck even your own people. You are going to keep shitting on important issues and counting those fat stacks while the people who get hurt by your influence count tears. I find it so ironic that some leftists are always trying to portray the people on the right as stupid, since I always say, no one does crazy like the right, but no one does stupid like the left. But the truth is that the Stewart brand of stupid is something you can find in both political sides. Jon Stewart represents the movement of anti-intellectualism, that same thing that Asimov warned us about. He said anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. Exactly. Stewart takes pride in his ignorance, mocking people who are knowledgeable, and by doing so, signaling to his considerable audience that it's okay not only to talk about things that you know absolutely nothing about, but to be condescending about it as well. Education is nothing. Having the actual information is nothing. The opinions come first. And then people wonder why these idiot kids become anti-Semitic and won't stop believing the lies even when presented with evidence. They have been trained from birth by multiple systems that evidence is just a word. What matters is their opinion, and it is independent from reality. And Stewart and others like him are one of those systems who train them to think like that, to believe in unthinking as if it's a new religion. So what can we do about it? Not much, to be honest. Personally, I think the problem will become worse and worse unless we deal with it. And there are a few ways we can do it. One is education. Our current systems are obviously not up for the task. We have too many people who are simply too easy to manipulate. They find it difficult to think critically, and they are gullible. Education can be like when you are told how a magic trick is done. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. Another way is perhaps it's time for us to recognize that while when it comes to rights, all people are created equally, but that doesn't mean that we are all the same. And some of us have a smaller cognitive capacity than others. And perhaps it's time to recognize that the same way you don't give a driver's license to a blind person because they might harm others, maybe there are other functions that should have a competency barrier in front of them. Feeling uncomfortable with that one? Okay. How about we put a stop to the outside influence, to the people who take advantage of the gullibility of people, of this unthinking movement? How about safeguarding democracy? How about we pass laws that forbid donations to any party, regardless of size or political side? Each party registers and gets the same allocated posters and TV ads and all that shit, and a budget for, events, flyers, whatever, from the taxpayer, directly from the government, no outside donations. You level the playing field, you remove foreign influence from the game, and you make sure fucking assholes can't buy politicians so they get power over the people who never voted for them. Because for those people who buy politicians, there's an interest in keeping people simplistic and stupid. There's an interest to make sure people follow anti-intellectualism. And I know you tend to think that the people like the tech bros who purchased Donald Trump recently are on the opposite side of Jon Stewart, but I'm telling you right now, that's just another scam. They are pushing the same exact thing, and for the same exact reasons. And let me be clear here. We need to do something, because societies that push anti-intellectualism never stay on top. It doesn't matter what form that anti-intellectualism takes. If it's religious or it's secular, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. The end result is the same. When people are not only ignorant, but are willingly ignorant and proud of their ignorance, everything that makes a society progressive and advanced starts to crumble. That is exactly what happened to the Arab world between the Middle Ages, when they were an empire of science and philosophy, and the 20th century, when they became ignorant, unstable, backward countries taken advantage of by the West. And let me tell you right now, the wheel is turning again.